Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to Abhyaas LawPrep. In today's session, we are going to discuss about the budget which was presented by the Finance Minister a couple of days ago. So in these budget sessions, we are going to discuss about one particular topic every day. In today's session, we are going to discuss about the old tax regime versus the new tax regime and what is the difference between the old tax system and the new tax system. So let us jump into the topic. So what is this old tax system and new tax system? The Government of India in 2020-2021, for the financial year 2021, the Government of India has introduced a new tax regime in which the government has basically reduced the income tax rates for various income tax slabs for the individual income tax payers. Also, the government has made it optional for the income tax payers to choose between the new tax regime and the old tax regime. The old tax regime was still intact, by the way. But whereas in the new budget that was presented a couple of days ago by the Finance Minister, the government has made the new tax regime default, meaning the individual taxpayers should have to choose compulsorily between the new tax regime and the old tax regime. If at all they fail to do so, then the new tax regime would be applicable for the income taxpayers as default. So what exactly is this new tax regime and what exactly is this old tax regime? And what is the difference between these two? For example, in the old tax regime, the government has provided a lot of benefits in the form of exemptions and deductions that the individual income taxpayers can claim while filing their income tax returns. For example, in the old tax regime, the government has provided for individual taxpayers to claim deductions against various allowances. For example, HRA, house rental allowance, leave travel allowance, and also the government has provided the individual taxpayers to claim benefits in the form of various investments and expenses that they might make up in the form of either Provident Fund or National Pension Scheme or payment of interest for the house loans and also for payment of tuition fees and medical premiums, etc. Whereas in the new tax regime that was introduced, the government has made it mandatory for the individuals to forego all these benefits in the form of deductions and other allowances that it has provided in the old tax regime by reducing the income tax rates for various income tax slabs. Not only this, the government also has allowed a standard deduction of up to 75,000 rupees in the new tax regime. So let us take a look at the comparison between the old tax and the new tax regime. So this table will give us a brief overview about the differences between the old tax regime and the new tax regime, and also what is the rate of income tax for a particular income tax slab. If you look at this is the old tax regime and this is the new tax regime. Old tax regime, all the benefits in the form of various deductions and allowances are still possible for the income taxpayers to claim. Whereas in the new tax regime, there are no such benefits. The taxpayers, they have to forego all these deductions, but the rate of taxes has been reduced for each and every specific income tax slab. In the previous tax regime, for example, for income up to 2.5 lakh rupees, there is 0% tax, and for the income from 2.5 to 5 lakh rupees, the rate of income tax is only 5%, and from 5 lakh rupees to 10 lakh rupees, the rate of income tax is 20%, and for about 10 lakh rupees income, the income tax rate is 30%. Whereas in the new tax regime, the income tax rates have been decreased for each and every income tax slab. For example, up to 3 lakh rupees, 0% income tax. From 3 lakh rupees to 7 lakh rupees, 5% rate of income tax. And from 7 lakh rupees to 10 lakh rupees, 10% of income tax. 10 to 12 lakh rupees, 15% income tax. And 12 lakhs to 15 lakh rupees, 20%. And 15 lakhs and above, 30%. So these are the new taxation systems, the new tax rates which were proposed by the government in the new tax regime which was introduced in the budget by the finance minister a couple of days ago. This new tax regime is by default applicable to all the taxpayers if at all they fail to choose between the old tax regime and the new tax regime. So this is about the discussion about the old tax regime and the new tax regime. Thank you so much.